Happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for attending our Friday Advanced Training on Credit Money Machine. What I'm going to cover today is setting up task groups and automated workflows. The task groups can be used in quite a few ways. I'm going to show you how I use the system. I think it's the best way to train you guys is the way I use it, and then you guys can manipulate the system any way you want. That's the cool part about this system. It's very flexible in how you interpret it or use it. So I'm on a record here. I've got a fake lead here. Doesn't matter where you do this from. What we're doing right now is we're going to create what's called task groups. So I can go into my task manager area here, and I go to the G here for groups, okay, and it's going to give you instructions and all that. What I'll have you do is just click on G for group, and it's going to bring up this box here, task groups. The purpose of task groups is to either manually or automatically assign a set of tasks that you want to either perform yourself, be reminded to perform, or to have one of your agents, your employees, perform those tasks. And there's a lot of power in what this thing can do, because you can have the system remind your person to send a specific email, to follow up on a certain amount of days after they've changed the status of that client, send them a text, whatever. So I'm going to show you an example of one that's already set up, and then I'll show you how to set them up. All right, so what you guys see here is I have a task group that I've named test, and I have tasks that I want the system to add to this record when I change the status. So here's what you see. Here's the name under description. Here's the tasks, and I'll tell you how that works in a second. And then down below, it says above multitask triggered when contact status is contacting. And I have it marked here with an X that I want it to be active. So whenever I change a contact record to contacting, let me show you what happens. Okay, so I've got my contact status here, and I change this record to contacting status, and I go to click anywhere else, it's going to trigger that task group. And that's what you see here, is that task group was just triggered, and the system is asking me, do you want that group of tasks assigned to yourself or somebody else in your company? So I can assign those tasks to somebody else. In this case, I'm going to assign to myself by default. And you'll now see those tasks populate onto this contact record. These are tasks associated with fake lead, okay? The first task is notate call results in this case. The reason for that is this status in my company means that we're trying to contact a new lead. We haven't made contact. We haven't engaged that person. We're attempting to contact them through phone calls, emails, etc. So, notate call results. All right, let me do that. And I'll just add a snippet in here that I have. We'll go there, save, note added. Oops. Okay, so there's my little note. And now I'll mark this task as complete. Okay, the nice part about doing that is now that task is also put in the history on this record. And what it is, it's kind of like a checklist. I use it kind of like a checklist for my people to make sure they're doing the things I want them to do. The next task in this little group is create an opportunity. Okay, well, we'll go do that later, but let's assume they did that. Set follow-up, okay. Obviously, you want your people to follow up with leads. You don't want them to call them once, leave a voicemail, never call them back. You want these people following up consistently to make sure sales are being made. So, all right, I'm going to perform that task. I'll go create a follow-up, and I'll notate what the reason for my follow-up let's say make second contact attempt. I'll do that tomorrow. Let's say Saturday instead. Make it a priority 2 task. I don't have to give it a time, or I can as a reminder to call them. Maybe you're saying, well, I called them in the morning, so now I'll call them in the afternoon. So let me try 2:45 p.m. on Monday as a follow-up. I'll go back to all tasks because this is what I've done is I've clicked on this task to make it big in this screen. You can still see the task over here that I was trying to complete, so I can mark that as complete. And now what you'll see is right in order, the next task in this little task set is send email and or proposal. Okay, so I did that. Next, and then add to one of the qualified workflows. So if you guys have workflows, and I'm going to show you how to do that today too, if you have workflows created, you want to make sure that they're being added, that people are being put in the proper workflows so that your system's automation can do what it's supposed to do. So I would go over here to my little workflow area. I don't have any in the system for this demo system I'm using, but I'll create one to teach you guys. Basically, my person would go assign the appropriate workflow to this contact, mark it as done, and now he has no more tasks that are due today. Okay, this one's due on the 7th, so he'll move on to the next contact record or the next record in his list of tasks to do today and move on. Okay, so that's an example of a task group. Now, how do you create them? And how can I create task groups that have emails in them that'll be sent out to the client automatically and all that good stuff? So that's what I'm going to cover. Let's get into it. So I'm going to go into my little task group here, G for groups, under the task manager. I can make this bigger if I want to, just for the visual reason. And I go in and hit add to add a group, and I'll name it. And let's name this hot prospect. So I've named it. Now in this box here that you see my cursor in, I'm literally just going to tell the system first, how much time do I want to pass between tasks? Because I'm creating a group. So I'm going to hit the plus sign and then 0 for 0 days. So this is something I want done right away. Plus 0, do this. So let's go ahead and say notate. Let's say notate call results in detail with okay, so we'll just say in detail. Then I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard to get to the next line here, and I'm going to say plus. So the same day, I also want email sent, and we'll go like this. We'll say hot prospect. So we'll say send hot prospect email. Okay, and what we can do here now, this is where we can get fairly advanced. So yes, send hot prospect email, but now your person has to go look for that email template. They have to, pull up their email address, email it, all that good stuff. Well, here's a nice part about this system. I'm gonna show you how you can automate this. And there are instructions right here in the system. So if I click on I, and it's going to open up instructions on how to do some more powerful things in here. And I'll scroll down and show you. It says you can set different priorities on these tasks automatically. And that gives you instructions here. You can assign a task, a specific task in that group to a specific agent. So you can have a task group, and what the task group is going to do is automatically assign. So I'm going to close these instructions out and I'll open them back up. What's going to happen is the system's automatically going to assign that task group to either the person that inserts that group onto a contact record, either automatically through a status change or by just going in manually and adding that group to the record. Or it's going to ask you, who do you want to assign the entire group of tasks to? Yourself or somebody else in the company, like you saw earlier. Well, what you can do is identify within this group of tasks a specific agent that you want to perform that one task out of the entire group. And that's what these instructions show you how to do. So here's where it talks about that. Right here. Okay, and I'll show you how to do it. So you see this symbol here, it says A equals, and it's got a number after it. Well, each agent or each contact record in your system actually has a contact ID. I'll show you where to find that. But what this is going to do is it's going to assign a specific task in this group to a particular agent. And I'm going to, let's go ahead and just go do it so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's go find my my new test, my hot prospect one here, and I'm gonna assign a specific email that needs to be sent out. But I'm also going to send, I'm going to set a specific task in here for somebody else in the company. And let's go like this. Let's say add to company hot prospect list. And we'll say, and what we're going to do here, this is going to be a task that's going to be assigned to maybe an administrative person in my company versus the salesperson. So I'll follow those instructions, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to put A equals, and then I got to go find that agent in my company. So let's just go do that real quick. Let's have that ready. And let's go with George. Oh, do I have George in here? Uh-oh. Let's go with somebody else. I'll go find him this way. I must not have him in the system as a contact record. So let's go find George here. Here we go. All right. And there. Now he's in the system. Okay. So I made George an agent. He wasn't in the system as an agent yet or as a contact. So I've got him in here. Where do I find his ID, his contact record ID? It's right here. Okay, and I can just click this button to copy that ID to my clipboard. And I'm going to go into my task manager when I'm creating my group here. And I'm going to say A equals, so agent equals that agent ID. Okay, so what I'm doing is saying the task of the task I'm creating here is add to company hot prospect list. And I'm going to say add contact just to make this more clear. The company hot prospect list, and the agent equals this agent ID. Okay, so let's go look at our instructions, make sure that we understand it correctly. And this is something I'm showing you guys this because I want you guys to go through this the first couple times. And double check your work so that you don't get frustrated, because once you've done it once or twice, this becomes routine and very easy to do. And it's also very powerful because it allows you to really create a lot of specific details and a lot of specific actions that you want the system to do for you. So I double checked my work, go into my task group, looks good, okay? But I also want to find the email, the hot prospect email that I want sent out. And I want it to be something that can be done automatically or with one click. All right, so there's instructions in here about that as well. In the same place, go up to the I button, hit the instructions. I know how to do it, so I'm not going to waste you guys' time going back and forth in there. I'm going to go find the email template in my system that I want sent out. And I've got all my little groups, my little categories of emails. So let's just go find a fake email in here. Let's pretend that software benefits is my hot prospect email. So I'm going to go find that email, and I'm going to also, it also has an ID right here at the bottom of the template. So I'm going to copy this ID, go back to my group area here, and I'm going to put it in, like you can see displayed here. I'm going to put it into my, so I'm going to copy the template, and I can put E after it for email, okay? And I'm also going to put another one in here with an X after it, the same email, just for fun. And we'll say this one goes out in 2 days. But I'm going to put a capital X after it versus an E. And I'm going to show you the difference. These are instructions I'm giving. So I've built my group, okay? You'll see what this does. This group is going to add a task to notate call results in detail. It's going to add a task that's due the same date right away, immediately. +0 means right away. Send hot prospect email. And then I've got the email template ID listed here with a capital E after that. I'm going to show you what that function does for you. Then I've got a task here that's supposed to be performed by only this agent, and I have the agent ID, A equals, and their agent ID, or their contact ID record. Then lastly, 2 days after this group is assigned to the contact, I want you to send this email template, and I have an X after it, which means automatically, okay? So I've built my group. Now what I need to decide is how do I want this to be assigned or inserted on the contact record? Do I want it to be manually done through memory, or just as a one-off thing that we do in certain circumstances, or do I do it when the contact status is changed to a certain description? In this case, I'm going to choose that option, and I'm going to turn it on. Check to activate. Okay. So let's test what happens here. Let's go to any record here. Let's just go to Apple sample, I guess. She doesn't have any tasks assigned to her at all. She was already in hot prospect, so I'm going to change her so that it'll trigger our little group now. And when I click away, it should assign. Here we go. So the group I just built is going to be inserted on this contact record. And again, it gives me the option, assign the tasks to myself or to somebody else. Well, I'm going to assign to myself, but one of those should be assigned to George if I did it right. So let's see what happens. And it looks like I didn't do this one right, and I'll go double check my work. And see, this is why I want you guys to know how to look and double check your work. The reason I know that is if, see the CS, the initials here, those are the initials of the person the task is assigned to. And if I hover over it, it'll give me the full name of that person. Task created for Chad Smith by Chad Smith. Okay. This one here should be assigned to George. So let's go into our task group real quick and see what happened. Let's go read our instructions and see what we didn't do correctly, okay? So go here. And we'll scroll down. We'll read our little directions here. All right, so let's go see if we have to put double brackets into our group here, okay? So go back in, find our group. And I'll clear these tasks and we'll test it again. So I can hit shift click to clear current. It'll clear all those tasks. We'll go and change the status again to hot prospect, self, see what happens. There we go. Okay, so we had to have the double brackets in there. So now these tasks have been created automatically. When I changed the status of the record, it triggered this group of tasks automatically. And you'll notice now that the first two tasks are assigned to me. They're due today, right? The third task is assigned to George. I can see the task, but I can also see that it's not assigned to me. And George will see this in his little list, his little task agent, helper and stuff, things that he needs to do today. And then I've got the task that we set in that group due 2 days from now, which is send this email automatically. Okay, so again, let's assume that I'm a salesperson for you and I change it to hot prospect. I follow the instructions. Well, the send hot prospect email, and I've got an ID in here with the capital letter E after it, allows me to, as an agent in your company, click on this task, so it's selected, and now use this little kind of cool little action button here. And what this action button is going to do for me is it's going to it's going to locate that email template for me, create an email that I just have to review and confirm I want sent. Because remember, I didn't do it automatically, I'm doing it semi-automatically. Do I want to send this email from myself or from somebody else? Well, I'm going to say self, instant, and now you'll see the email template has been created. It's got the contact records, email address, the title, everything. I just look at it and go, yep, that's the one I wanted to send, and I hit send, okay? So let's say we sent that. Once I send, it takes me right back to the record, so I mark it as done. This is a task for George. So George does his job, marks it as done, and 2 days later, this task pops up on my screen. Pops up or is in my list of tasks I'm supposed to perform. Let's move forward 2 days to the 6th. Well, this is an email that's supposed to go out automatically. The difference between the X and the E is simple. When I click here and I hit the action button, it just gets sent. You can see at the bottom of my screen, the email is being sent, done, and I'm back on the record, task complete. I don't have to mark it as complete. I don't have to do anything. It's done. And it also put that email right in the history. See that? That email was sent by Chad Smith on this date. So task groups are a really neat feature to help to create processes in your system or reminders for your people to do certain things in a specific order on certain dates. Okay, so again, we created the task group. I performed all of my tasks. There's one task left on Apple Sample's record for George to complete. That'll show up in his list of tasks when he comes in the morning to complete and do or perform. So there's our task group we built. We built it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes max. And hopefully you guys can kind of see and understand the power of the task groups, what they do. Now, a couple more details on this are priority. Do I want to set this entire group as priority 3, 2, or 1? So I can do that here. So now, if you guys noticed, let's keep this as 3, and we'll go do this again. Let's mark George. Let's clear George's task here, and we'll prompt this task group to come up again on this record. But you'll notice they're priority 3. See that? If I want these to be priority 1, these are important. very important tasks, high priority tasks I want performed, I can set the entire group of tasks to be priority 1, or I can by default keep them as priority 3, but make a specific priority, a specific task in this group a priority 1 or 2. The same way that I do, I name the email templates and stuff. I go into my instructions here, and it's going to talk to me right here. Also, it is possible to override the priority for a particular task and or assigned agent. To accomplish this, use the following symbols. P equals 1 to indicate a change in priority for a particular task to priority 1. And A equals blah, 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 where the is the agent ID of agent that task will be assigned. So let's go play with it. Let's go try it. Let's go into our new group here. And let's make George's task. Okay. Let's make this task priority 1. So I'm going to go double brackets, P equals 1. And I'm going to close those double brackets. And let's see if I did it right. So trigger it, and let's test it. Let's see. Yep. So because I put that the brackets P equals 1, it set just that particular task in the entire group as a priority 1. All the other ones that I have default priority 3 are there, but this one for George is a priority 1. And I can go to another record now. So this is a task group that on any record that I'm on, Susie Quest here, I decide, I get off the phone with her, I decide she's a hot prospect, I change her, here we go. There's my task group. What it does is it standardizes the processes inside your company. It helps to hold people accountable in your company. And it helps to make it easy for you to train people on your systems and processes, because they don't have to remember, they don't have to have a piece of paper on their desk that they're reading through. The only thing you have to train them to do is have good habits. Good habit number 1 is know how to disposition a contact record when you're done calling them, emailing them, whatever. How do I disposition them? And if you have task groups set up that are tied to these statuses, not only contact status, but secondary status, it's going to speed up your training. It's going to standardize, again, how people operate inside your software. So task groups are super powerful. I use these things, love them to death, and it's helped our company a lot. Let's go back to Apple Sample here. Okay. So again, we've triggered our hot prospect task group. Now you also can have as many secondary statuses, or up to 40 secondary statuses. So maybe there's also additional tasks that are triggered, or separate tasks that are triggered by the secondary status, like mortgage, real estate, whatever. So let's go create a mortgage, one triggered by mortgage. And we'll make it, we won't create a whole new one. We'll just change the stuff that needs to happen. So we'll change this one here to mortgage. We'll clear this one out. And this group is going to be tasked, is going to be triggered only by a secondary status. Okay. So we got hot prospect. Change her to hot prospect, trigger my little group. Okay, there we go. But also, she's mortgage, which should trigger another group and add to my list here, which it did. So when you are using both statuses, the system is going to treat these two sections separately, not in conjunction with each other. Okay. Let's go to my group here so I can look at it. So there's two emails that need to be sent out based on this. Let's just see what happens. Oops, wait, I didn't want to do that. My bad. Okay. Okay, so I go complete these tasks. It's a hot prospect. Again, these emails, E and X, you guys decide. The only difference is when I click on this task and I hit the action button, it's not going to send it automatically. It's going to give me some options. It's going to let me look at it first, review it, and then send it, and then make the decision to send it like that. So I sent it, done, takes me back to the record, and then I have to manually mark that task, that email being sent as complete, versus the capital X after the email. When I click on the task and highlight it like this and then hit my action button, it just sends it. It just it eliminates a couple steps, and it automatically marks the task as complete. I don't have to remember to mark it as complete. So with emails, I like to use the X, the capital X, as an automatic to save my person time, and they can move on to the next record. So there's your task groups. Now, let's talk about workflows. Go to my workflow manager in the quick menu. Go here to the big add button. It's going to ask me if I'm going to add new or step. Well, I'm going to add a new workflow. So new, and then it's going to ask me to test it. So let's say hot prospect. Hot prospect retail. Let's say hot prospect. Okay. So now you'll notice I've got the name of the workflow I'm about to create highlighted here in my little drop down, and any workflows I have are listed here. So here it is. And step 1 is already listed. I'm going to put this as order number 1. The date created is just so I know when I added this step. Okay, so I'm not going to change that. I'm going to give it a description. So this step in my workflow will depend on what type of action or task it is. So let's decide first what we're going to do. Hot prospect, I'm going to make sure that a task, I'm going to cover for my people, because I don't trust them all the way to remember to always set a follow-up to call this person back, or to always, you know, fill out the details of the why they're hot or what their interest points are or whatever. So let's put hot points checklist. And I'm going to keep it as a task that's going to be assigned automatically. Content type directly for one task. So what I'm going to do now is the actual task. What is going to be? What are they going to do? So complete hot points checklist in detail. Gonna find the reasons. Spell type, whatever. All right. And then, so what I'm doing in this step is giving it, you know, giving specific instructions here. I'm giving it a description just for my purpose. Days to trigger. 0 being right away, same day. I click in the box and say 3, 6, 10, however many days I want it to trigger. And I can even have this triggered at a specific time in the day. Let's say 4 p.m., days to trigger 0. I can choose a specific agent for this task or leave it blank. If it's blank, it'll automatically default to whoever the person is that assigns this workflow to the contact. So any of these steps that are blank will automatically be assigned to the agent or person in your company that adds this workflow to the contact record. So in this case, I want to leave it there because I don't know, because I've got more than one agent that will want to perform this task. Okay. Click here to add step. This one will be add, let's say credit tips email. Okay. And now I'm going to change the task to an autoresponder. It's not, because that's the type of step I'm adding. I'm not adding a task. I want this autoresponder to be triggered automatically. So I clicked autoresponder. This pop-up comes up and tells me to identify which autoresponder I want automatically added to this record. So credit tips, select. Okay. Now I go here and say when, how many days after they've become a hot prospect. I'm going to say 1 day after, and let's trigger it at 9:30 a.m. In this case, I'll probably leave the agent blank because, again, I want those emails, that autoresponder emails, to come from the agent who added this person to the workflow. But let's say instead, I want these to always come from the expert, the owner of the company, the president, whoever. So this is going to come from Chad. Now, you notice that prompted another option. This is brand new. And what this is this is a little bit new and advanced. This says, do you want to use a different agent to be the sender for the affiliate emails, if any? That's going to be in the auto messenger area. Each step or each round of emails that go out can be sent to different contacts. It can be sent to the contact record, the client, and up to 3 affiliates connected to that contact. So what it's asking me here is, do you want, if there's an email created that's supposed to go out to an affiliate, not the salesperson, do you want to use a different sender than Chad for that email? Okay. Very, very advanced, very cool feature. Right now, we're going to say no, because I'm going to keep this simple for now as you guys are learning this. And I'm going to build my next step in the workflow. This one, I want it to be a text message, an SMS. And I have templates in here for my SMS. Okay, so let's say this one, select. It's going to send out this text message. And that one doesn't need to come from anybody in particular, because these text messages and voice SMS, you can't reply. They can't send a text back. It's just a text message saying, hey, please call us, or hey, here's a quick update for you regarding this, or hey, we haven't heard from you, whatever you want it to say. It's meant to be a reminder or to spark them to call you, which you could actually include your phone number in the text message. Hey, you can't reply to this text, but you can certainly text me on my cell phone here, or you can call me at the office at 480-374-1266. So you wouldn't need to put an agent in here for a text message in particular. And let's call this one, we want this one to go out 3 days after this workflow is triggered. And then let's add one more little step here. And this is unlimited. I mean, I can go on and on and on and on and on forever here. And here we're going to add a task group. Right? Maybe I do that. Maybe there's a different task group that I want triggered. So an entire set of tasks to automatically be triggered after this guy's been in hot prospect status for 5 days, or after 5 days after I've triggered this workflow, and I want this one to be assigned to Jenny, my processing person. Okay. Give it a description. Give it a description. Okay, my workflow is created. It's going to do all these things on these dates and times. Okay, now here's how it works. I go back, go to Apple Sample, and now I have to assign the workflow out. This workflows don't get assigned automatically. Me or one of my agents has to do that. So that's why the task groups and the workflows work so well together. Because let's say in my little task group hot prospect here, I had a step that says, let's add a step. And we'll make it a priority 1 because it's important. Okay. Let's go through the whole process now. We've built a task group called Hot Prospect. We've built a workflow called Hot Prospect, and they can go in conjunction with each other. And I'll show you how that works. So let's go ahead and clear this mortgage one out. We don't care about this right now for this example. And let's say we change the person to Hot Prospect. Okay. They went from being a warm lead to a hot lead, whatever. Now my little group of tasks pops up. And the #1 priority task that it shows for me, for Chad, is add to Hot Prospect workflow. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to go over here to my little workflow assignment area. You can see the 2 workflows that I have created in my system. And I'm going to click I for insert. Or I can check the box here and add it. Okay, it asked me a bunch of questions there because I didn't have a sender assigned. But so I've got my workflow. I'm inserting this workflow, and I can see that it's added right here to this contact to Apple Sample. Once I've inserted it, if I want to go review those steps and what days they're actually going to happen on for this client, I just go right here to the Go button, and it's going to show me their workflow, the one specifically for their workflow. And here it is. Today at 4 p.m., the Hot Points Checklist task is going to be assigned to whoever the agent is. In this case, it'll be me, to complete Hot Points Checklist in detail of identifying the reasons this contact is hot or interested. Okay. Tomorrow, 12/5 at 9:30 a.m., the Credit Tips email messenger will automatically be assigned. So emails and text messages in the workflow are sent automatically. They require no action from you or your agent if they're in the workflow. So this autoresponder is going to get assigned to Apple Sample tomorrow at 9:30. It's going to begin sending emails. I'll show you this autoresponder so you can see what it is in a second. On 12/7 at noon, this text message is going to go out. And on 12/9 at 12 noon, this task group is going to be assigned. So a whole new set of tasks will be triggered. And that task group can have multiple agents in it, multiple things. It can say, make sure you add this person to a different workflow at that point. So you can connect these different actions, these different processes to each other through the workflow and the task groups. Now I could also, instead of having a task group assigned here, okay, I could just have it be a task, right? And the task could be add to a specific workflow, or call, make final call attempt to enroll in service, whatever it is. So let's go through our steps. Okay, I see that Apple sample here. I've got a task here for George. Let's say he does his job. Okay, he did it. I do my job. I add her to the workflow. So let's go add her like we're supposed to. Okay, she's added. Everything's good. And you'll notice now that this box is lit up in green and highlighted in green as where it wasn't before. That's because it's letting me know that there is an active workflow assigned to Apple Samples record. And I can hover here and see which one it is. Workflow assignment currently assigned, hot prospect. Pretty cool. Lets me know, hey, all right, that's done. Check that off my list. Notate call results, yep. Okay, send email, yep. Send email, yep. Now this one's not due yet. It's not due till the 6th, so we'll leave that alone. And we'll move on to our next record. Okay, so she's now in that workflow. Let me show you guys the auto messengers and what I was talking about. So I'm going to go to the auto messenger, click auto messenger, just hit go. And I'm going to select my auto messenger, credit tips. And what I was referring to before with the auto messenger is you'll see in each step. So each one of these is a email template. Okay. But in here, I have up to 4 emails that can go out to 4 different people. This one, how to start a dispute, credit tip number 1. Okay, this row is going to the contact record, whoever the contact record this is assigned to. So in this case, Apple Sample would get this email on 0 days from when this auto messenger was assigned, automatically through the workflow. Okay, so she would get this email. Well, if there is an affiliate assigned to her, I could assign a different email template. Let's go with this one. Okay, see that? So even though Apple Sample is getting the credit tip, the affiliate, the first affiliate, level 1 affiliate for her, can at the same time get a completely separate email template. So this is a very advanced auto messenger system that gives you a lot of power. I'm going to clear that because I don't want to mess up my actual auto messenger. But this entire auto messenger, which is 50 emails, is designed to go out with a credit tip every 9 days. Okay, so that's the credit tips auto messenger in this case. So when I go look at Apple Samples workflow, which I can click here, and I can hit go, remember, to see what is actually going to happen for her, what stuff is going to take place, I can see, oh, the credit tips email auto messenger autoresponder is going to be assigned to her record on 12/5, so tomorrow at 9:30, which means Apple Sample is going to start getting emails that I have in my auto messenger called credit tips tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. And every 9 days after that, because the auto messenger is set up that way, she's going to get another credit tip. Okay. So what we've covered is adding task groups, creating task groups, and you do that in anywhere by just going to the task manager and hitting the G for group. Okay. And then hitting the add button to add. You just use your keyboard and the enter button to add another additional steps, and it's +0 +5. Now, something I didn't explain that's probably pretty important. +0 here is +0 days from when the task group is assigned. But this next step is plus 1 days from the last task, okay? So that means in this case here, I could go like this again, plus 0, do this, and this task right here would happen on this, would be triggered the same day as this one, because it's plus 0 days from when this one is assigned, the last task. So if I wanted 3 tasks to happen on the same day here as this is how I would set it up. Okay. Then 2 days after that, I want this to happen. Okay. And this plus 2 is from the when these 3 tasks were performed. So play with it. You guys will recognize what I'm talking about as you do this. You'll see what dates are being assigned. Again, you can have the entire group a certain priority, or you can assign priorities to specific tasks within a group by simply using this format right here, P equals 1 for in these double brackets like that. Okay. P equals 2 would be priority 2. P equals 3 would be priority 3. And that's task groups. Workflows, you guys can get as creative as you want to. Go to your workflow. Create as many as you want to by hitting the add button. Remember, new means new workflow. Otherwise, it's a step you're adding to an existing workflow. And there's the step I'm adding. Email, send that email, select, okay. Description, I can put whatever I want in here. This is a open field. Okay. And I can assign an agent or not. If I don't assign an agent, it's automatically going to assume the agent you want this to come from. Oops, I need to delete this by hitting clear, not there. If there's nothing in there, it's going to assume that it's coming from, or it's being the task is being performed by the agent that assigned the workflow. Otherwise, I can identify I want this particular email or this particular action to come from or be performed by somebody specific. That is the end of my training today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned a lot, and you can see the power of the software, the flexibility of it. For a lot of you guys, it's about not trying to complicate it too much or trying to automate too much in the beginning. My best advice to you guys, if you want to start to lay the foundation to add automation, to have these checklists and these reminders, don't overdo it. Put the basics in there, tie them together with a workflow, or have a specific task group or status trigger a workflow, or have your person add them to a particular workflow, and let that workflow do the work. Let it be the safety net. If you use this correctly, salespeople that forget to follow up with clients or leads or whatever, as long as they're doing the one part you ask them to do, which is add them to a workflow and add them, change the status of that record, then tasks will be set up automatically for them, and then there's really no excuse, because you as an administrator or business owner can go in and search and look for past due tasks, and you can see those tasks, who they're assigned to. Who was supposed to add Apple Sample to the hot prospect workflow and didn't. You'll see it because you've got those task groups assigned. So hope this helps. if you have questions or you want more specific training on this stuff, we do have certification courses that we're willing to do for you and spend one-on-one time with you. If you have some one-off questions, if you're not quite sure what the best way to do this is, we're happy to help. Call your account manager, myself, George, or Thomas, and we're happy to help. Thanks, and enjoy your Friday.